Hello everyone, welcome back. We're doing lesson 104 today, algebraic additive activity. This is going to start on page
He's going straight to the practice
104.
lesson practice, right? Isn't that what it's
Yes,
called?
so this is very similar to a lesson that we did, I believe it was last week. Let me just go back real quick. I guess it was the week previous. Okay. Yeah, it was a lesson that we did previously. They're having you do a kind of a game to figure out how to do it, but I think that the game overcomplicates things. It's basically they're trying to turn this into activity. Luckily, what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and just simplify this without doing it. So it's kind of like we did before, without the activity that they have in the book. That's why we're jumping straight into the practice set. So here, if you remember, we have negative numbers, and we have adding, and we have another negative number, and we have subtracting a negative number, and we have adding a negative number. So what we need to do is we need to rewrite this in a form that we can tell when it's going to be negative and when it's going to be positive. So here, I start out with a negative number, so that's negative 2. We're going to keep it that way. And then plus a negative 3, the plus and the minus, we can just turn that into a minus 3, right? And then when I subtract a negative number, we can turn that into adding, so I'm going to add 4. And then when I add a negative number, that's going to be subtracting. Okay? So the way this works is, if you have a negative number out front, we're going to keep it negative, right? That's our negative 2. When you add a negative, we can turn that into a subtraction. When you subtract a negative, that's going to turn into addition. And then, again, when you add a negative, it's going to turn into subtraction. So now we have something that looks a little bit better. We're not trying to figure out what's positive and what's negative. Now we can just kind of go through the problem and figure out what our answer is going to be. So I have a negative 2 minus 3, so that's going to go even further negative. It's going to be negative 5. Right? But then I'm going to come back up. I'm going to add 4. So that would give me to negative 1. But then I have negative 1, and I'm going to go back down 5 more, which is going to turn us down into negative 6. Okay? So if you take it step by step, writing it simply first, using these two properties, and then once you simply write it, go through piece by piece and figure out where you're going up or down the number line. And maybe that's good for the next one. Let's go ahead and write out a number line.
So I would pause this video and try to work out B, C, and D by yourselves after watching Mr. Johnny do A. And then you can come back to see how you did.
Okay, alright, so this one, we're going to take a look at B. So first we're going to simplify. So we start off with a negative 3. Then when I add a positive 2, that just stays as a positive. So we'll add that up to our rules. We're just going to add. So when I add a positive, we're going to add. Okay, so plus 2 minus plus 5. It's going to be minus 5. The minus a negative, when you subtract a negative, that's going to be addition, so plus 6. Okay? So now, again, we're going to use this on the number line. So we're going to start off with negative 3. Then we're going to add 2, so that means we go up 2 to negative 1. And then we're going to subtract 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So one more, negative 6. But then we're going to add 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We end up on our 0. So here we get a 0. Okay. Let's move on to C. We're going to simplify this one. So we start off with a 3. Adding a negative, so that's like subtracting, minus 4. Subtracting a positive, that just stays subtracting. Adding a positive, that's going to be adding. And then adding a negative, it's going to be subtracting. Okay, so we've greatly simplified all these positive, negatives, and subtraction sign. Let's try and do this in our head real quick. So if I have 3 and then minus 4, that would get us to negative 1. And then minus 6 more would get us to negative 7. Right? And then plus 7, that would get us to 0. And then minus 1, that would take us back down to negative 1.
Nope.
Okay, let's try and let's go through that and make sure we got it right. So
Mr.
3,
Johnny did it
4,
wrong.
7. Maybe I wrote the problem wrong from the book, but let's see. So negative 1, negative 7, 0. Yeah, I must have written something wrong from the book.
Tisk, tisk, tisk.
Yeah, that's okay. That's what I did. This should be a minus.
Ooh. So it was right if the problem was written that way,
Yes.
but he just wrote the problem wrong.
Yeah. So now we have 3 minus 4 is negative 1. Minus 6 is negative 7. Plus 7 should be 0, and then plus 1 would give us value of 1.
Yay, at least he caught his mistake.
Okay, yes. Okay, and
Last one.
Last one we're going to do for today. Again, we're going to simplify this. So 2 plus negative 3 is going to be 2 minus 3 minus a negative 9. If we're subtracting a negative, it turns into addition. And then we have minus positive 7, so that's just going to be minus 7 plus positive 1, so adding 1. Okay? So we're going to do 2 minus 3, so that would be negative 1, plus 9, negative 1 plus 9, it's going to turn you to 8, and then 8 minus 7, it's going to be 1, and then plus 1 should equal 2. Okay? Alright, that's it for today. I guess for now, we will move on to lesson 105 here in a minute.
Bye, guys.